Hello people of YouTube, 'tis I once more, the Crimson Assassin, here today to give you guys yet another anime review. And today, people of YouTube, we're going to talk about the newest hyped anime of 2016, the anime people have been talking about since episode 1. This anime has freaking blown up into so many proportions, it's not even funny. People are outright just loving this anime to death. It's going to be as like the best anime of 2016. The anime we're going to review and talk about today is, of course, Re:Zero, starting a new life in another world. Before I really delve into this review, people of YouTube, I want to make one fucking thing clear. Even though this anime is highly praised and really good, and I will admit right now it is a really great anime, there's still flaws and still things I want to point out. And, you know, I get the whole thing that, oh, people just love every anime, every new anime, that's just so great, but if I see an issue with the anime, I'm going to point it out regardless of its hype, or is it, you know, very highly popular and mainstream and shit like that. So, just because it's so hyped does not mean I'm not going to ignore its flaws, so I am going to point them out. So if you love this anime to death and freaking hate that I have issues with it, then tough titties, you're gonna have to deal with it. And plus, it's only my silly little opinion, so it doesn't really matter at the end. As long as you enjoyed it and you found no issues with it, we can all get along. So, the story of Re:Zero starting a new life in another world basically follows Subaru Natsuki, a person who had somewhat no life back in Japan, suddenly leaves a convenience store and ends up in this other strange world. Very confused that he's in this strange world, he runs into a girl who is later known as Emilia, and during the course of as they were meeting and as they were trying to form a bond, Subaru ends up dying. But what ends up happening is that every time Subaru dies, he travels back in time to a point where, like, he could prevent his own death, but also preventing the outcome that happened during his death. So he basically follows Subaru in this new world as he's trying to figure out how is he going to spend his life, and also, you know, build bonds, relationships, and also dealing with some serious psychological shit. Like, I mean, like, this guy goes through hella shit in this anime. Shit that I cannot really talk about, but this man goes through shit, and it's up to him to not only fix a lot of shit, but also prevent shit from happening to people and stuff and shit. So, people of YouTube, without question, this is like the anime of 2016. Everyone's been praising it to death, and I've always been interested in checking out Re:Zero. I just wanted it to finish. And ever since it did finish, I started watching it. The only reason why I had to stop watching it at one point was because I wanted to finish watching Monster. And now I finished watching Monster, so now I focused all my attention to Re:Zero. But then I kind of, you know, life kicks in and stuff. So I did end up taking my time watching Re:Zero. But I did end up finishing it right now. And all I really have to say about Re:Zero is this. So, people of YouTube, what are the pros and what are the cons of Re:Zero? The first and must praise I must give to this anime is, of course, the animation done by White Fox. I should have looked up what they've done, but they've done some pretty awesome animes in the past, and Re:Zero is absolutely no exception. White Fox did an amazing job animating the world of Re:Zero, the background, to the character designs, to basically everything about the animation, the interesting action scenes, and also the heavily drama and the weather and stuff. It's fucking awesome. Like, without question, this is one of the most this is like the most gorgeous anime I've seen of all 2016. Like, this animation is just awesome. Awesome. Check that out. The voice acting in the anime, well, as of the time I'm recording this video, there is no English dub, just a Japanese dub with subtitles. So, the Japanese voice acting is very solid. Each voice actor and actresses gave the 110% to their voice roles, so I give them A++ for their awesome voice role. I especially also love the voice of Subaru. He's a pretty cool dude. I like him. Now, what are the two things that make an anime great? Well, obviously the story and the characters. Now, the story of Re:Zero, albeit, starts off very, very, very slow, and it does take a while for the story to really pick up.
But even in the beginning portions of the story, you do get invested, and you do want to see how this journey and how Subaru and gonna end up saving people in this situation. The story is very intriguing and will get you invested. And once you get into the second half, as in like past episode 13 and just beyond to the final episode, it's fucking awesome. Like, I would say the story in the second half is better than the first half, and we'll get into that in a little bit. But what happens in the second half, I mean, it literally freaking blows my mind. And there's one thing I must give this anime praise for, and it is the psychological aspect of the story. You see, in a lot of animes that I've seen recently, and even ones that I've seen years ago, they don't really have, like, the psychological aspect of a story doesn't really affect the character negatively, and only, like, sometimes it affects them for like a little while, but then they'll just get over it and move on. Well, in Re:Zero's case, at one point during the story, in the second half of the anime, our main character, Subaru, ends up doing like a huge like 180, and because of all the shit that this guy has seen and stuff, and like, I absolutely love that. It's like, you know, they really took the time to actually do a really good psychological mind rape to this kid, because I'm telling you, man, like, the shit that this man has seen, I mean, if you were Subaru, you would act the same way as him. It's human nature. It's what you would expect. So, I must give this anime praise for actually having, you know, not only giving the character a huge 180 at one point, but you really end up really sympathizing and end up one point relating to Subaru and his predicament. And I must give him praise. Subaru is an outstanding main protagonist, and I must give him praise. Now, since we're talking about the characters of the anime are all awesome, and just discussing a few of them will probably take upwards to like the whole fucking like 20 minutes. But I am going to talk about our few characters. Now, I already discussed a lot about Subaru, but I could go into a little more detail. You see, Subaru, you know, I think at one point he kind of was that little cliche. He was kind of, you know, like that happy-go-lucky kind of guy who, you know, is like, who's okay with everything that happens to him, and at first, that's what you feel. At first, you kind of like, man, okay, this guy is just kind of like the go-with-the-flow kind of dude. But then again, once we hit the second half, I mean, his character sort of does a whole, like, 180, and I was fucking blown away on Subaru and his character, so I absolutely enjoyed that aspect of Subaru. Now, among the other characters, you have, of course, Emilia and Rem. And, okay, first off, let's get the fucking elephant out of the room. Who do I like Subaru to be with the most? Rem or Emilia? These are basically the two I want to talk about the most. Let's start off with Emilia. Now, Emilia kind of was that always kind of like damsel in distress kind of character, like, but she does hold her own at some points in the anime, but like most of the time, all the time that you really see Emilia, she's kind of always like chit-chatting and talking, but also forming a really cute and awesome bond with Subaru. With that being said, you know, I felt like they kind of had the stronger, you know, relationship, but then comes Rem, where, you know, she was, at one point, she didn't have, like, really feelings towards Subaru, but then, you know, she just absolutely fell in love with him, and I really can't choose who I prefer Subaru the most, because I absolutely love the Rem. Rem and Subaru's relationship, I was freaking blown away. Episode, I think it was like 17 or 18, where it's just them talking. Like, literally, there's one episode of Re:Zero that has just Rem and Subaru, and they're just talking, and, you know, Subaru was, like, doubting himself, and there's also one thing I want to mention about Subaru, and quite ironically, because he is a fictional character in a fictional world, but, you know, you actually feel, like, you actually felt pretty real. Like, again, if you were to be in Subaru's shoes, it's real. Like, damn, I would probably act the same way as Subaru if I was in this predicament. With that being said, going back to Rem and Subaru, I felt like they had the stronger bond. They formed the awesome chemistry, and at the end of the day, it was only, you know, how does Subaru feel? Because he really has feelings for Emilia more than Rem, and I do feel like Rem and Subaru has a stronger bond, but Emilia and Subaru, they had the first connection. Like, Subaru felt more attached and had more feelings for Emilia than really Rem. At one point, I did believe that Subaru kind of had feelings for Rem, but he really had more feelings towards Emilia. And at the end of the day, it's what Subaru feels towards the two characters. I feel like at one point he just loved them both equally. And let's talk about Rem's just solely. She's an awesome character. You get everything from her. She has good character development. She has a good backstory. I love her and her sister Rom. I loved everything about them. And plus, again, the awesome and cute relationship that she has with Subaru. Very strong, very convincing, very real. And I absolutely love the fact that they took time for an entire episode to develop their relationship, but also to develop Emilia and Subaru's relationship. So to be honest, I can't really say who was my favorite because I love Emilia, but I also love Rem. I would say I'm more towards Rem, but it's what Subaru feels, and Subaru has more feelings towards Emilia than Rem, so I can't really say, to be honest. But what I can say is that their relationships are without question the strongest and without question the best. And aside from other characters, there's also some minor and smaller and supporting characters that also did an outstanding job as well. Now, there's one other thing I want to mention that's honestly a pro of the anime, and that's its opening and ending themes. Pertainingly, the second opening is my favorite, and the first ending theme is my favorite. I absolutely love, but the rest of the other opening and ending themes, they're really solid. I really enjoyed them, but I mostly prefer the second opening and the first ending. With that being said, people, now we get into the nitty-gritty, and I discuss with you guys the main problems that I had while watching Re:Zero. And really, honestly, there's only really majorly two. There's only two major things that I must say that pertains to Re:Zero that I must really address. And the first and biggest issue that I had with Re:Zero is the first half of the anime. The first half of the anime kind of felt really slow, really dragged on, and it doesn't really get good until maybe episode 8 and episode 9 towards the second half of the anime, the true second half of the anime, which is episode 13 and beyond. Episode 13 and beyond, they're fucking great. The first 12 to 10, first 10 or 12 episodes, I mean, it was solid. It was just going to introduce a lot of the characters and stuff, and I understand that part, but it was kind of boring. And at one point, I was kind of turned off, and I was just sitting there. I felt like kind of a chore getting through the first half of the anime. I wanted it to get good. Okay, and at one point it really does get good. It gets interesting. There's moments in the first half that's okay, great. It's a moment of little solid greatness, but then it goes back to being kind of boring and repetitive. And I would say that the first half of the anime is very dull, very cliche. Very cliche, I knew that was gonna happen, or I knew that was gonna happen. I called it from a mile freaking way. It was very boring, honestly. The second half, fantastic. Loved it. The first half, boring. Just very boring. I hated the first half. It just took way too long for it to get good. But I'm telling you, once you make it to the second half, that's when it gets really good. Really good. Sorry for the many freaking jump cuts this video. I apologize, life. This is what happens to me on a daily basis. So, anyway, the last con that I have with Re:Zero was that things were addressed, things that were, said and done in the story, but not fully explored. For example, there's this whole thing about choosing a new king that is very interesting. In fact, at that point, it was very, it kind of delves into the politics of this world that they live in, and I thought that was freaking cool. And so, there were these 5 women chosen, and Emilia was one of them, and there's this huge twist that happens, towards the end of that story part, and I thought, wow, I can't wait for them to explore more about this. I want to see more. Never fully explored, never fully addressed again. It's just gone.
And I thought, damn, that was a waste of potential. Like, that would have been, honestly, had that been taken out, nothing really probably would have really, well, actually, a lot of things would have changed, and never mind. But, honestly, that could have been, like, its own anime, honestly. You know, discussing, like, the politics and them trying to choose out of these 5 women who was going to be the new king. I thought that was freaking great. So, I thought they were going to address more of that in the future, but then they just shove it off to the side like it's nothing. And I thought, damn, I wish they could have explored more about that. And that's honestly all of the real issues that I have with Re:Zero. I do think it's a solid anime. I agree with the general populace that this anime is very solid and, you know, does deserve a lot of the praise it gets, but a lot of people did not watch Re:Zero for the pure fact that this anime is the overly hyped anime and people, you know, just don't watch, you know, the mainstream shit. With that being said, after 5 jump cuts, this video is going to take forever to freaking upload. I do like Re:Zero. I do think it's worth a watch, and I do recommend people to go check it out. That being said, people of YouTube, my final verdict for Re:Zero, starting a new life in another world, is a 9 out of 10. Truly, truly a great anime. It's great. I recommend it. Well worth your time. Go watch it. Now, if you excuse me, people of YouTube, I have to babysit this video, hopefully being uploaded, because so many jump cuts means it takes way longer to upload. That being said, thank you guys for watching. Sorry for this long delay of reviews. This does technically qualify as horror because there's a lot of scary shit that happened in this anime, so I'll count it as a review for Horror Month. So, well on that. So until then, people of YouTube, tis I, the Crimson Assassin, signing out. I don't want to make this ending way too long. Goodbye, people of YouTube. Peace. Sorry for the jump cuts. I know there's been so many of them this video. I apologize. Bye.